Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another edition of Samug's Vlog. Today, I got something special for you guys. This is somebody that I respect a lot. It's somebody in the community that many of you guys already know. Um, he, some of the kits and busts and stuff that he produces are world renowned. They're sought after all over the world. And his name is George Stephenson, Blackheart Industries. Now, like George, or like myself, George grew up on the south side of Chicago. He went to college there. He went to law school in Minnesota. And except for a few years doing federal criminal defense work, he also did so in Chicago. For a few years doing federal criminal defense work in Chicago. He's also he's been in Minnesota since 1981, and half of his career in Minnesota, as an attorney, was as a prosecutor, and the other half was a defense attorney in private practice. He was appointed a district court. He was appointed to the district court bench in 2001 by none other than Jesse the Body Ventura. Now, most of the judge's work has been handling felony jury trials, anything ranging from drug sales, theft, aggravated rape, robbery, murder, felonies. Now, he got into modeling after law school, and he built mostly figures. Now I'm reading from here, excuse me. And he built mostly figures and then spaceships. And then in 1990, he decided to learn how to produce resin model kits, and he started a company called Geometric Designs. Geometric produced licensed resin and vinyl kits of movie monsters and Star Trek characters. In 1998, a lot of his stuff started getting bootlegged, and the motion picture studios who licensed them refused to do anything about it, so they quit. They stopped doing it. They quit paying the royalties on the kit, and we sold, and they never asked, So in 2003, he sold Geometric and no longer had anything to do with it. Then he started Blackheart in 2009, Blackheart Industries. And it has been good. I mean, he'll retire from the bench in 2021. He'll be doing Blackheart full time. So, folks, I give you one and only George Stephenson. How are you doing, sir? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm glad you. It's an honor to have you on here. We had Ken a few weeks ago, on here.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ken is pretty cool. I mean, I've known him for a while, and he's something else. As a matter of fact, he's the one who introduced me to you.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
So now I know you have limited time, and we don't want to sit here all day and bore people, because I know I can be boring at times. Now, George, I wanted to ask you. Now, you have your Blackheart Industries, but before that, there was something called Geometric Designs.
Right.
How did you now, to go back even further than that, how did you get involved in the sci-fi stuff? I mean, what was your impetus for you to the nexus for all of this?
So, growing up in the 60s, I was into monster movies, anything related to science fiction and monsters. That's what I was into. But I wasn't into building model kits. Most people got into figure models through Aurora, building Aurora kits.
Uh-huh.
Aurora, to me, wasn't about model kits, at least model figures. It was about slot cars.
Okay.
My brother and I had a huge slot car racing set layout in our basement. And most of that stuff, all that stuff was produced by Aurora back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had always wanted to own a hobby store when I was a kid. 3 things I wanted to do. I wanted to be a pro football player, I wanted to be a cop, and I wanted to own a hobby store. So my entire life, whenever I went by a hobby store, I always stopped and went in to check it out. And right after I finished law school, because I worked full time during law school and went to school in the evening. And that was actually up here in St. Paul that I went to law school. One evening, I'm driving home from work, and at this time I'm a prosecutor. I got some disposable income in my, in my checkbook, check account, and I got some free time, and I see this hobby store that I've never seen before. It's called Scale Model Supplies. And so I drove around the block and parked in their parking lot, and then went in, And they had a huge display case, which was the first thing that you would see when you walked in. And in that display case, there are all these beautifully painted model kits of the Aurora monsters, model kits from the 60s. And it just blew me away because I remembered them, although I didn't build them when I was a kid. I used to see them advertised in the comic books that I used to collect. And I was looking at them, I was like, man, you know, it'd be fun to build and paint one of these things. So I bought a Revell monogram Frankenstein, and which was a reissue of the Aurora. I took it home and I went and bought some paint and some glue, and I put it together and painted it and had so much fun with it that I decided I wanted to get another one. So I went back and bought a couple more monogram kits, Dracula, the Wolfman, the Phantom of the Opera. And then I decided, I want to complete this collection. I want to build and paint all of them. And some of them you couldn't find because they had not been re-released by Revell Monogram. So I talked to the hobby store owner who told me about this group of folks who used to hoard those things. And you could order them from them. And so I started doing that. And then I found out about a guy named Terry Webb. And he's the publisher of Amazing Figure Modeler magazine today.
Okay.
But back then, he was writing for a magazine called Model and Toy Collector.
Okay.
And so we connected and became friends. And he told me about other places, other people that I could buy model kits from, figure kits. And eventually I got into resin, because there are guys who were making resin kits of movie monsters. So I started doing that. And then I moved to Chicago for a couple of years to do federal criminal defense work.
Okay.
And I had a roommate in St. Paul who also was from Chicago, and he had moved back. And so we'd get together, every other week, hang out. And I was living in a condo on Lakeshore Drive on the South Side, right near Hyde Park. He came over this particular evening, and I just gotten a couple of model kits, resin figure kits in the mail. And he always liked them. He liked the way I painted them. And so he goes, "Oh, what'd you get?" And I said, "I got this figure and I got that figure." He goes, "Oh, those are cool." And I was like, "Yeah, they're really nice sculptures, but man, these guys could have designed them better than this. Because it's going to be tough to go together. And this one, the casting isn't all that good, a bunch of bubbles in the head. So it's going to be a lot of work." And I started talking to him, and I said, I could design a better model than this. I was complaining about the quality of the things.
Yeah.
And he said, "You really think you could?" I go, "Yeah, some of these guys are doing this stuff in their basement. I could figure out how to do this. I'm a smart enough guy. I could figure out how to do it." He said, "Really? You think you could?" I go, "Sure. Just take a little study and a little work." He goes, "You should do it then." And we started talking. We'd been drinking and messing around, and just started fantasizing about, the idea of actually starting our own business, a little business enterprise. Well, that former roommate of mine, his family owned the Chicago-based company Radio Flyer, the company that makes the red wagons, right?
Right.
And he was working for the family business. And at the time, Columbia Pictures was making a film called Radio Flyer, which featured the wagon. And as he and I talked about the idea of starting our own little hobby business, I said, if we're going to do this, if we're serious about doing something like this, we should do it legit. Let's get licensing. Let's get permission from the studios. And he said, yeah. He said, "That's a great idea." I said, "Because we can market and advertise the stuff and get the studio to support us and whatnot." And I said, "So why don't you talk to your contact at Columbia Pictures and find out about their movie catalog.
Okay.
Let's see what monster movies, what movies with cool creatures we might be able to license." Well, Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, which had the Cyclops in it and the dragon, and Fright Night, which was a vampire film, a popular vampire film. And so for $1,500, we got the licenses for those.
Wow.
And then We ended up hiring a couple of sculptors, and we paid some folks to make molds for us, and then we got them to teach us how to make the molds and how to pour resin and stuff. And that's how geometric started. And then, it just took off right away.
Okay. So geometric is no longer in business.
Well, I sold the company to one of my distributors back in 2003. He was actually the owner of a comic book store, kind of comic book and figure store out in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But he hasn't done very well with it. And as a matter of fact, I think it's been 4 years since he has really done anything with it.
So he just let it stagnate then, huh?
Pretty much. He has talked about coming back. I've heard people who know him say that he's going to be, the geometric is going to be coming back. That doesn't have anything to do with me, and I haven't seen anything from him. I don't have anything to do with it.
Now, I know you have in front of you some geometric kits. Am I correct?
Oh yeah. Let me show you. This is let's see. This is the Predator that we produced. It's a 1/8 scale, and it was a vinyl kit, and we sold a ton of these. And then one of the biggest licenses that we got, first vinyl kit license we got, was for Star Trek, and we did the Klingon, Gowron the Klingon. And we actually did 11 different Star Trek kits. Captain Picard, Data, Worf, Ambassador Spock. We did 11 different kits. We did really well with those two. We had worldwide distribution. It was great. But we started off having the vinyl kits produced for us in Japan.
Okay.
But we told the company that was producing them for us that we wanted to learn the business. We wanted to learn how to make them. And so my partner and I separately, I went over there a couple of times, for a week, and learned how to pour and pull vinyl parts. And then my partner did the same thing. He went over there to learn. And then we videotaped the whole process. And we came back here. By then, I was back here in Minnesota. But we came back here and showed some folks that we know the video, and we said, this is what we want to do. And they're problem solvers. And they said, oh yeah, we could do that. And so they did. They custom built the equipment for us, and we set up shop right near downtown St. Paul.
Okay.
Started producing vinyl kits. We had already been producing resin kits. We started producing vinyl kits. Only company in this country to produce vinyl kits by slush cast.
Okay.
And that's the best process for producing vinyl kits. Great detail, metal molds, expensive, but good stuff.
Yeah.
And that's really what kicked geometric off. I mean, before we started doing the vinyl, we were just doing resin kits. And we did some good resin kits too. We were doing pretty well, but it was the vinyl that kind of took us to a different level.
Now, George, so you phase out of the geometrics. So what are you doing in the meantime before Blackheart? Was there always you going into starting something else, or was there a time period in there where you didn't know which way you wanted to go?
Well, before I started geometric, I was practicing law full time.
Okay.
When I started geometric, it was just a little part-time thing. I thought, this is just going to basically pay for my hobby, right?
Right.
But then it took off. And so in 1993, I quit practicing law and I did geometric full time.
Okay.
And I just figured I had always wanted to be a judge, but when I quit practicing law to do geometric, I figured, well, I'm going to table that dream. I'm just going to focus on this because I'm digging this. It's fun. This is what I'm going to do. I'm done with law. I'm done.
So is that when Jesse came knocking on the door?
Well, what happened was, you mentioned in the intro that we started getting bootlegged. Okay. So there are a lot of things that happened in the mid to late 90s that that impacted our business. One was that the whole hobby industry changed because people were getting into home computers and video games and video game consoles and radio controlled cars. And then action figures that were very nicely sculpted and painted. So they were, a lot of them were as good as model kits, right? So those kinds of things started to impact our sales, but we were still being competitive. But then we started getting bootlegged by mainly by a company in Korea.
Okay.
And we it hurt us. It put a hurting on us. It wiped out our international sales. And then we started seeing the stuff come into the US. And so I went to the heads of the legal departments of the motion picture studios that licensed us and said, hey, our licensing agreement says we can't do Geometric can't do anything about the bootlegging, that you guys have to do it. So do it. Stop them, because they're killing us. And so I was talking to the head of 20th Century Fox Legal. They licensed us to do the Alien and the Predator.
Okay.
And those were two kits that were really getting bootlegged a lot. And I told them, I said, hey, I got everything you need. I got samples, I got the catalog, I got their packaging, I got their website. I said, I got everything you need to shut them down. And I knew we had it because I was a trial lawyer. I knew what they needed. And what he said to me was, okay, that's great. Who's this company? I said, it's a company called Elfin, and they're in Korea. He goes, did you say Korea? I go, yeah. He said, nothing we can do. I go, what do you mean? He said, Korean courts don't recognize Western copyrights. He said it wouldn't be cost effective to do anything.
Okay.
And I said, okay. So I said, but what about the distributor? The distributor isn't in Korea. They're in Baltimore, Maryland. Diamond Comic Distributor. Our distributor was selling bootlegs of our kits using our packaging and Paramount Pictures trademark for Star Trek.
Wow, that's bold. That was bold, huh?
Right. I said, what about that? And he said, George, we're not going to go after every little shop that sells a couple of bootlegs of Geometric kits. It wouldn't be cost effective. I said, okay, well, I got two questions for you. First question is, why are we paying you all that money in royalties and in licensing fees? Because the license for the Predator and Alien cost us 10 grand. And then we were paying 10% of our gross sales. Okay. That was a lot of money. I said, so, why are we paying you all that money? He didn't have an answer for that. I said, I got a second question while you think about this first one. I said, why the F are we, I said, why the F should I be worried about you coming after me when I no longer pay you royalties? I said, because that wouldn't be cost effective.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he didn't have an answer for that. So that was in August of 1998. And so I hung up, never talked to them again. We never paid another studio a penny in royalties, and they never asked us to. Basically, we got taken advantage of. We were trying to do it legit, do it right. Most of our competitors were not doing stuff licensed, okay? And some of them were even doing characters that we had licenses for. We didn't rat on them. We didn't mess with them at all. But we did expect that when somebody was doing something that would hurt us, mainly the bootleggers, that the studios would stand up for us, and they didn't. So for the next 5 years, didn't pay a studio anything in royalties. And but it cut into our sales so much that I started looking at practicing law again, and I ended up getting back into it part-time.
So then, now, in between, now you get back into law and you become a judge.
Right. Yep.
How does Blackheart Enterprises come to be?
So I was appointed to the bench in 2001. I started looking to, kind of trying to figure out what I could do about Geometric, because the company had value, but with me practicing law, and by then I was back practicing full time, I didn't have time to run a business, especially that business, because you really got to be involved when it's your business.
Right.
So that's when I ended up selling the company to the guy in Pennsylvania, and I just had nothing to do with the hobby for 6 years. Nothing.
Okay.
I still had stuff sitting in my garage in storage, kits and stuff. And every now and then, the new owner of Geometric would buy some of that stuff from me. But after 6 years, I decided, you know what? I can handle being a judge. I know how to be a judge now. And my girlfriend, who's now, basically my wife, she was like, when you talk about the hobby and your business, you always sound so happy. I never see you so happy as when you're talking about that. Why don't you do it again? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know about that. Right. And then one of my sculptors, guy who had sculpted a lot for me in Geometric and has now sculpted a lot of Blackheart's kits, Joe Simon, he was like, hey man, we miss you. You should do something. We should do something together. You should get back into the hobby. I was like, I don't know. And then one of my mold makers, Mark Brokaw from Earthbound, he and I had kept in touch. He goes, hey man, really, you should get back into it. And so he said, I'll do the molding and casting for you. And so those three, Mark, Joe, and Claudia, got me to get back into it. I had not painted a kit in 6 years. And the other thing was, after I got out of the model kits, I started collecting African masks. Okay. And I got this huge wall that was just covered with African masks. And a friend of mine sent me a pumpkin head face. And I put it up on the wall. I was like, wow, now that's cool. I wish I could get some more monsters mixed in with that. And then I saw a guy who was producing a mummy, a life-size mummy. And I asked him if he could just pour me half the head, just the front half, the full face. So he did that. And I painted that up. And I was like, okay, this would be cool. And my girlfriend said, you know what? Why don't you try doing life-size wall hangers of monsters? And I was like, man, I don't know.
So you jumped right into the big stuff then?
Yes, because I didn't want to be confused with Geometric.
Okay.
I didn't want anybody to see us as competing with them. I didn't want anybody to think that we were them or they were me. And so we went into life size. And we went to Wonderfest 2009. Nobody knew we were coming. I got a table, showed up with two kits, our Mr. Hyde kit and our Medusa, both wall hangers, and blew people away. And we sold a bunch. And then the next year we went there, and by then we had the Terminator and the Thing, also life-size wall hangers.
Now they should be here on your site.
Yeah, if you go up, go to right up a little, down a little bit. Yep, see where it says large scale wall hangers? That's where it is. And there's Mr. Hyde.
This guy right here, yeah.
Yep. And Medusa, we retired as a wall hanger, but we have her as a 1-to-1 scale bust. But that's kind of what we did. And first couple of years, we did all right. But it wasn't the kind of sales that made me feel like, man, this is definitely worth pursuing. And then what the feedback we started getting was, people were intimidated by them because they're big.
They're big.
Yeah, they're big and they're not cheap. They were going for about $180. And people were like, man, I don't think I can paint something that big and make it look good. And so what happened then was, Ken and I from Badger had been buddies since the early 90s. And I saw him at Wonderfest, and he was providing the paint and the airbrushes and compressors for a painting class there, an airbrushing class there. And so I went to the guy that was running the airbrushing class and said, hey, man, why don't you use one of our pieces for your airbrushing class? And because what I wanted to do was to demystify the idea that these things are, because they're big, they're too hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first time I asked him, he said, "Oh man, we already have something planned, so maybe next year." And so the class he did that year, where he didn't use our stuff, didn't work out real well. There were problems with the piece that they had. And so the next year he said, "Yeah, for sure. I want to use your Mr. Hyde, and I want to use your Thing wall hanger." And we're like, "Okay, cool." And so we sold like 30 of them to the airbrushing class.
Okay.
And when people did them, they realized, man, these things are great and they aren't that hard to do, especially when you're using an airbrush. And so most of the folks who took that class came over to our table and bought another one. And then I think that was the same year that we debuted our Predator wall hanger. And then the whole business just took off.
Yeah, this guy right here. I mean, he's just.
Yeah.
I've seen photos of this guy online. I've never seen him in person. Where's he at?
Oh,
this
man.
Right there. Is that the one you're speaking about?
I can't see it, but you just had it up a minute ago.
Oh, add to stream. I'm sorry. I didn't have it on it. That guy right there.
That's it. That was our display model. And it just blew people away. And we sold a ton of them at that show. And that was when Blackheart took off. That kit and the airbrushing classes.
Mm-hmm.
So the next year, we talked to the guy who was putting on the airbrushing class, and he decided he didn't want to do them anymore. So we took over, and we've been doing an airbrushing class at Wonderfest ever since. And it has really been a great marketing tool. We don't do it to make money. We do it to turn people on to airbrushing, Badger products, and Blackheart products. It's a marketing thing. And it has really, given a boost to our business.
Yeah, these are just they're stunning. And now, of course, you have who sculpted them. You could see it. I mean, when you have the bio of the people that sculpted them, like say this one right here, right?
Yeah. That one was sculpted by Yoshihiko Sano. He's a Japanese artist. He's fantastic.
Yeah, that is just cool.
Yeah. So we work with top-notch artists. And a lot of these guys are guys that a lot of the people we work with are people that I worked with even when I was with Own Geometric.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of dragged them into Blackheart with me. So
I think this is the one that isn't this the one that James just painted one of these?
Yes,
James,
he did. Yeah, he did. That was sculpted by Abner Marine. He's a sculptor in Spain. And
beautiful. Look at that. Is just phenomenal.
Yeah, he does a lot of film work, a lot of work for the films.
That is just beautiful work.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
This Gorgon is gorgeous too.
Yeah, that one was sculpted by Danielle Angelosi. That's a digital sculpture, and yeah, it's ridiculous.
Oh, this is the one that you have a video up on your page there, where you're okay.
Yeah, the assembly video, because she's put together with magnets. You don't have to use glue.
Yeah, but whoever painted it.
Oh yeah, that was painted by Matsugoro. He's a fantastic artist. He's one of our dealers in Japan. Roswell, Japan is the name of his business.
Just beautiful work.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal painter, man. Incredible.
This one I've seen this one. My first introduction was that I think that was at Gen Con when James painted this one, didn't he?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, James. Yep.
Well,
James,
it's not this one per se, but he painted one of these.
Yes, he did.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that was also sculpted by Abner Marine, another digital sculpture. After he did that first one, I contacted him and said, "Hey, man, I want to do a whole line of 1/2 scale female sci-fi or horror-related characters, but originals." And so I told him, these are the kinds of features I like. Take it from there. And man, he just smoked it. It's
some beautiful. I mean, I want to go into more of those now. Do you contact the sculptors, or how does that happen? Do you reach out to them when you see their work, or
sometimes? I mean, I don't do that as much anymore because I got so many sculptors that I know well.
Uh-huh.
And when you reach out to somebody new, you don't know if they're
You don't
serious.
know what you're getting, right.
They might take it as a hobby, or they might not, have good work ethic. So I kind of like to stay with the group I have, but every now and then I come across somebody new and take
Now,
a
as far as
chance.
when like the images you have of your stuff, and I'm going to go back to those now. The people that paint them, they supply you with the photos of what they've done to these things.
Yeah. When we sell kits, we encourage folks to send us photos because we publish them in our customer gallery.
Okay.
There are thousands of photos in our customer galleries. There's a gallery for every kit that we've done. And
that's down in there, the gallery right there,
yeah,
right?
there it is, right there. With the Bride of Frankenstein, you see that? And now you click on each of those icons, those thumbnails. Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
And then you see all the pictures that customers have sent us.
Unbelievable.
We put their name. We used to put the name and the city they were from, but you know how crazy social media can get. So we don't do that anymore. We just put their name.
This is the one James did right here.
That's right. James did that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable work, though. Look at this. You made it when somebody does this to their arm.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy?
Unbelievable, though. Just now, do you, when these are produced, George, is this a vision that you have, or you tell somebody this is what I'm looking for, or is it? I'm sure it's a collaboration between you and the artist, but how does that work?
Sometimes it's my vision, and I say this is what I'm looking for, and I send them all kinds of reference, so they have a good idea what it is I want, because I can't draw.
Okay.
I couldn't draw a rock, so I tell them, try and tell them as much as I can about what I want.
Okay.
And then I'll send them whatever photos I can that might help, and then they start doing it, and then we're just communicating. And the guys who have been working with me for a long time, they get it. I can tell them what I'm looking for. They know me. They know what my vision is, and then they usually nail it. Every now and then there's some tweaking that has to be done, but that's the relationship I have with the artists that I work with.
Now, going through some of these magazines reminds me of the old heavy metal books. Remember those heavy metal magazines?
Yeah.
Now how much of that influence did that? I mean, did you ever read those? The heavy metal books?
No.
It's
no.
The
science fiction and horror and fantasy. That's I love that stuff.
So you're like Geiger. You like Geiger, H.R. Geiger, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's where it comes from. But sometimes a sculptor will come to me, and we'll be looking for something to do, and I'll be like, I got something I want to get going, but I hadn't really talked to anybody about doing it, hadn't really fleshed it out. What do you think about this? And it's usually a sculptor that I know well, and I'll tell them, like, oh yeah, okay, I know what you're thinking about. And then they'll sketch it out, or they'll start playing with the clay, and then before you know it, there it is. Wow. And that happens quite often.
Now this one here, I want to show people. This is your planetary orbital drone.
Yeah.
Now this guy is cool. This guy is cool.
Yeah. So let me tell you the story behind that. When I owned Geometric and we had the license for the Predator, we were going to do our first spaceship. And at the very beginning of the Predator, the movie, in the opening credits, you see the universe. You see all these stars and stuff. Right. And then you see this spaceship go zooming by the camera. And then you hear this poof, and you see this white streak go away from the ship and enter Earth's atmosphere. And then you never see it again. You never see a spaceship or anything or any reference to it. So how did the Predator get from the mothership down to Earth? He didn't just jump. So I went to Steve Wang. Steve Wang is a special effects artist in Hollywood who was significantly responsible for designing the Predator for the first Predator movie. and he and I had become buddies. And I contacted him. I said, "Hey, man, I have this idea. I want to do a pod, planetary orbital drone, and it would be the ship that the Predator would have come to, landed on Earth in, if they had shown it in the movie." I said, "I'd like you to design it and give it some features that look like the Predator." And so I paid him to do these sketches, and he did 6 sketches for me.
Uh-huh.
And then we started and that's when we ran into the problem with the bootlegging of our figures. And when 20th Century Fox didn't protect us, we kind of tabled the whole idea of doing the ship until a couple of years ago, when I dug out the sketches that Steve Wang had done, and I was thinking Blackheart needs to expand. We need to do something other than just 1-to-1 scale busts and wall hangers. Let's do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to commission Daniele Angelosi, who is a digital artist in Italy. I commissioned him to make Steve Wang's sketches come to life. And so he sculpted them in ZBrush. We got them printed and produced as kits. And when Steve Wang saw it, it just blew his mind. Just blew his mind. Yeah. He said, "All these years, I was hoping that somehow you'd get around to doing it." And we nailed it. It looks exactly like his sketches.
Yeah, I see now, looking on your site here, on your webpage here, I see you have smaller reels, yes. And right. For anybody that's intimidated or wants to get into, work their way into some of your bigger stuff, you also offer these Micromania ones.
Right.
Now, how did that go about? How did you start doing that?
So there was a show in Chicago a few years ago. It was the Chicago World Expo.
Yep.
Big international model contest.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a table there. But we had plenty of notice before the show. They put the word out almost a year ahead of time that this show was going to be in Chicago. And I figured that's a no-brainer. Let me go home to Chicago and do a show there. But I'm sure they're not going to be into big stuff. So we need to come up with something small that would appeal to that crowd. And so something that we could sell in the $20 range.
Right.
And so I commissioned a sculptor to do 4 small monster busts. They're 3 inches tall, 6 inches with the base, that we could sell for $20. And so we went to that show, took them there, and they were a hit. We sold them well. And then I decided, okay, let's do more of this. And, it was funny because, like I said before, our big stuff, $180, and now some of them are $350.
Right.
And, that's going to scare a lot of people away. So the people at that show in Chicago, they'd walk by and they'd see the little monster bust and they go, "Oh, wow, that's cool. How much is that?" Say $20, $20. And they reach in their pocket, "Hey, give me a couple of those."
Yeah.
And it was like that. Just like that. And so we knew we had hit on something good. And so we're expanding that line. We expanded that line from some generic monsters into historical, like Geronimo.
Yeah, right there. Yep.
Genghis Khan, Hannibal, Vlad the Impaler. We expanded into H.P. Lovecraft characters. We started doing Godzilla. We did comic book characters, horror, and just expanded the line. Yep. Lily Munster, Morticia Adams.
Mm-hmm.
And that line has just taken off. We sell a ton of those. And, they're cheap. $20 to $45, depending on which one you get.
Right.
So, but that has done real well, and that has pulled a lot more people to Blackheart. And some of the people who started with these small busts have kind of moved up to buying some of the bigger stuff too.
Right.
So, and then we started doing the figures, Micromania figures. So,
you don't have them on here, do you?
If you let's see, go all the way up. Let's see. Yeah, click on the shop button. Yep, click on that. And now on the left side.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yep, click on that. There we go.
Dad, you got a Predator there, huh?
Yep. Yep. and we got a few more.
Oh, look at that. Now that's resin. That's not vinyl.
Yeah, that's resin.
Okay.
He's about 4 inches tall.
And then
3.5 to 4 inches tall. Yep. And if you scroll down, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Nosferatu, we have a bunch more in the works, not released yet.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and now we have bases for them. Those little figures, except for the Predator, those little figures were produced originally by Geometric Design.
Okay.
And I sold those to the guy who bought it from me. But he wasn't doing anything with them. So about 3 years ago, I contacted him and said, hey, man, are you going to do anything with the Micromania stuff? Because I'd like to do it. And he said, that never did anything for us. I don't care. So I took them. And we've been doing well with them. And we're going to be expanding that line, too.
Nice. Yeah. We're just scrolling right now through some of your tribute busts. And
yeah.
Let's see what these are, the 360. Look at the big old Kong. Beautiful.
You see the back of Kong? If you click on that. Oh, yeah, click on that.
Oh, it's got the map of Skull Island.
Yep.
Look at that.
Yep.
Look at that.
That was sculpted by a guy named Mark Van Tyne. Excellent sculptor. And he also sculpted our creature from the Black Lagoon. Look at the back of that.
Oh, check that out. It's got the lagoon there. Look at that.
Yep. So, Mark Van Tyne sculpted that. Great guy, good sculptor.
I mean, when you're looking at this, and because I've heard people, a few guys, up at Adapticon or Gen Con or whatever it was, that's too much. But when you look at it for the size and what you're getting, it's not really a lot of money.
Right. Well, that's what I think. But
yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A couple of $100. When you got a family and the struggle. Yeah. I totally understand that, and that's really why we decided to do some less expensive kits. $20 to $50 range, because that way you can bring new blood into it. You can get kids into it. The little Micromania bus, we went to we do a kids make it take it at G Fest in Chicago, the Godzilla show.
Right.
Man, we sold almost 200 bus just to the kids and their families, so they could get them, put them together, and paint them there at the show.
Nice.
Yeah, and so we're getting kids into it. And I mean, that's important. Otherwise the hobby is going to be nothing but a bunch of old guys. Hey,
yeah, I've got my grandson here that I'm starting to teach, how to do all that. He just loves it.
Gilbert, can I get you to hold on just a sec?
Sure, go ahead, buddy, go ahead.
Hello.
Let me give you a second here, guys. Check this out while he's on the phone. Check out the site here. There's some. Look at this, guys. This is a big wall hanger that he has from the Alien. Look at that. Whoever painted that, let's see. Does he got the painter on there? It was sculpted by Joe Simon. I don't see the painter. And look at that. Unbelievable. The size of that thing. Thing is huge. There he is with it. You can see him right up close with it. Whoever, it's somebody else that did it. All right. That's okay. I was just showing them your Alien here. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have that on my wall. That's one I did. It was fun, man.
Oh, this one here is the one you did right there.
Yeah, the one with me in the picture. That's mine. I did that. Yeah.
Oh man, this is some beautiful stuff. I was just watching a video of the guy that painted this one on YouTube. Beautiful.
Oh. Steve Park.
I think that's his name. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. He did. What was he painting?
He was doing a series of videos with your stuff.
Yes.
He was doing a big bust. Yeah. And I'll put a link in for people that want to see that. You can literally see he's got it on a table next to him, and it gives you a good idea of the size of it. And then he gets in close, and you can see all the detail work and stuff on it, because that's what he did with this one. You could see the scars on her, and all that. He did a fantastic job with it. So,
Yeah.
But so now, what would you like people to know about Blackheart? I mean, is there anything you would like people to know, George, about Blackheart itself?
It's about the love, and it's about having fun, because things are heavy right now in the world.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Frankly, they've been heavy for a long time, but especially right now. And it's nice to have a constructive diversion from all the crap that's going on. And a couple of months ago, Gilbert, we did this thing called WantaFest.
Yes.
An online virtual event, and we had a model contest. And I learned something really that I had never thought about before. After we posted about the fact that we were going to be doing this virtual event, and the event was because WonderFest, our big show in Louisville, was postponed. We said we want to support the show and see if we can raise a little bit of money to help the folks that put WonderFest on.
Right.
But also to give folks a diversion from being shut in, like COVID and all that stuff.
Right.
And so as soon as we announced that, I get a message from a guy named Keith, who says, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it. You don't know how great this is. He said, I served in Desert Storm, and during my service, I was injured, and I suffered permanent nerve damage and suffered from PTSD and depression. He said, when I came back home, I did some programming. It just didn't help. Nothing helped. I couldn't focus. I was depressed all the time. I was in pain. He said, and then one day my wife came home and turned me on to scale modeling. He said, it changed my life.
Yeah.
He said, it got my mind off of my pain. It helped me with my depression. It gave me something constructive to do. He said, I enjoyed it. I started meeting people. He said, I started reaching out to other veterans who were suffering too. He said, now I'm an administrator for Facebook scale modelers. They have almost 17,000 members. And a lot of those folks are veterans who are suffering, who are dealing with injuries. And what he said was, you doing this online gives us an opportunity to participate in a convention and in a contest. And I had never thought about the idea that there are people sitting home suffering like that, and that the idea that something like our hobby could help them.
Yeah, I've been in this community doing this, going on 7 years, and I've met a lot of them, George, a lot of them. And when I tell them my story, I'm similar to. I mean, I wasn't in the service, but growing up on the South Side, I've got a few injuries in me,
Yeah.
But at 30 years old, I was an iron worker, and I fell off a building, and I broke my back.
Wow.
And I mean, I've had 12 surgeries, and I don't know how many microsurgeries, So, yeah, I know how he feels, because there was one day I was sitting in the room and said, "That's it, I'm done." You know what I mean? I'm done.
Yeah.
And because I couldn't do what I was an active person, skydiving, scuba diving, motorcycle ride, My wife says, "Nah, fool, no." She says, "You know how to paint, you know how to do this, and she could let's come on, let's do it." It was my wife that did it, and the joy I get from it, just
right.
It's a beautiful thing, and that's why I do what I do. I try to take it to people. I mean, I've met all kinds, like you said. You meet these people, and you realize, man, that what, without this, where would they be? I mean, but yeah, I know what you mean by that.
Yeah.
So
in my job as a judge, I see some ugly stuff.
Sure.
I see people at their worst, and I see some of the worst things that people do. And having this is a nice escape. You know, I come home, I can start painting, and I'm not thinking about the case that I just had for trial, and I'm not thinking about anything. And all of a sudden, it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, I better get to bed.
Oh, no, yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah. And to have something that you can show for all that time, you know, it's cool, man. So I'd love to see more people get in the scale modeling. It's fun, and it's a positive thing.
Yes, it is.
So,
yes, it is. Well, yeah, Judge, I know your time is limited, so I don't want to keep you up anymore. But I'm going to I'm going to for everybody out there, I'll put the link up right now to his web page, his web store. Check it out. He's got some fantastic. I've seen them, man. I'm telling you, they're beautiful. They're just beautiful. And then what you do with them is that's your creation, you know. Check him out. I mean, he's not only is he a fellow Chicagoan, but you know he lives in Minnesota now. But man, I'll tell you what, some of the stuff he puts out, some of the stuff he offers is it's gold, man. It's just beautiful stuff. If you guys got a question before you leave, anybody got a question, real quick? You know, give me a couple of questions for him, real quick. Anybody? We've got some people watching, and they're all talking, you know, about it.
Okay. Wow, I didn't even notice the comments.
Yeah, there's yeah, you got they're all in there talking about your stuff. You got Stan here. He says now that something about a UK agent now. Now that you have a UK agent, I might have
Neil Vickers.
Yeah. He's Steve Model Kit Review. He says Angelo's work is fantastic. Did some for Eli at Zotz. Yeah, there's
right.
Yeah. You know, I haven't seen much from him, though. I haven't seen much from Zotz in a while.
You know, Ellie doesn't he doesn't promote his stuff a whole lot. The stuff he does is fantastic.
Yeah, but you don't see a lot of it out there.
I know.
It's weird.
I don't know why that is. But yeah, he's a good guy. Really good.
I met him in San Antonio once at a show in San Antonio. Nice guy. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate you doing this with me, you know, and I appreciate you taking time to talk to us, man. I wish you all the best. You know, stay safe out there. You know, the COVID, all the other nonsense we got going on in the world. Thank you once again for sticking with it and having patience here with us. I appreciate it. Everybody, George,
thanks for having me.
Blackheart Enterprises. Okay, we'll see you. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.
All right.
You be safe too.
Oh, thank you. All right, guys. There it is. That was he's a good man. I've met him quite a few times. I was introduced to him through Ken from Badger. Again, here's his there's the website. You guys check it out. If you can't, you know, he's got a sale right now of these kaijus. There's big ones, there's little ones, you know. You guys take a look at them. You know, there's like these little Godzilla busts, $20, $16. If you don't want some of the bigger stuff up. Sorry, Josh, he's gone, man. I only had him for an hour and I was pushing it right now. So, you know, I didn't, you know, the man's a busy man. So I only had him for an hour, but you guys check it out. Blackheart Enterprises. Now in the next coming weeks, I've got some pretty cool guests, a painter, a car builder, you know, a few other people coming on. I want to thank you all for sitting here with me, man, watching it. I appreciate your time and your support. Leave a like, you know, a thumbs up and a like down there if you will, you know, hit the little bell there so you know when we go live. And I'll try to get more of these people out here for you guys to listen to and maybe ask questions of. You guys have a great Sunday, man. Stay safe, stay healthy. You know, be careful out there. You know, the COVID thing is one thing, and then you got all the other nonsense in the world. Be kind to each other. Be good to your children. Leave the drama to the Queens brothers. By all means, build or paint a goddamn model. You guys have a good one, man. Gilbert, Red Dragon Model Works, Smog's Log. Peace, brothers. Good night.